And we're off.
3, 2, 1, action.
Justin goes straight to jail. The title of this episode is "The Gang Goes Straight to Jail."
The Weeknd goes to
Justin,
jail.
what is that show?
You know what that's from?
You're clicking all the cameras.
I
except
know,
yours.
I know, and I also called this the weekend, not the weekday. So
Oh.
like, I'm just like completely. Where even am I?
I don't know.
What was the question?
I don't know. Welcome to the weekend, though. I'm your host, Andy.
Where we're constantly amazed by how little Justin watches.
I watched the weekday.
Yeah, it's true.
Sure.
the only podcast on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts that actually matters.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us here on episode 70-something. I have a brand new, this was buy one, get one at Publix. Have you tried these yet? Hint.
Of course not.
They're not sparkling, and therefore I don't like
well,
them.
See, that's why I'm
I
not going to
didn't.
do
I didn't
that.
realize that until literally I cracked one open this morning.
Oh.
And I went, oh well, I'm gonna drink it because I paid for it.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, it's watermelon too, and I figured
mean-
I have never, not never. I don't have watermelon sparkling water a whole lot,
Okay.
unless you buy those packages at Costco that have like 3 different things in them.
Yeah.
But you can smell it though.
If it's not sparkling, is it just like watered down?
It
like,
is.
Juice?
Yeah, it's a disappointment.
Constant disappointment. If I'm going to drink something that's non-sparkling, I'm just going to drink like water.
This is
But
have a hint.
I know, but like I don't want that. Just like
You don't want it.
farts of fruit, you know.
Oh, fruit farts.
Yeah, fruit farts.
Oh, you indulge in fruit farts too? That's a normal Wednesday night for me.
I have really good news, guys. So one of our tech people named Chase Randolph and his lovely fiance Kate Corsack, who is also on tech staff here, they are engaged to be married.
Oh,
And for the longest time, I've been calling them Chate
yeah.
because
It's hilarious.
it feels right.
Yeah.
And I just walked in to make my coffee, and
The website?
they just now informed me that their website and hashtag will be Chate
Yep.
for their wedding, and I've never been more happy.
I mean, your marriage, birth of your children, and Chate. Like top 3.
It's on the Mount Rushmore of how happy I've been, and I stood there with my mouth open,
Agape?
Yeah.
Aghast?
as if someone had told me they were pregnant. You know, like that was the same level of happiness that I felt, not just for them, but also for me. You know, like
Because their marriage is all about you.
I just kind of felt like I won a little bit. You know, like it was. You live for these moments.
Speaking of marriage and speaking of where Justin's head is at, our good boy Justin.
Did we talk about Justin's head?
No. Well, he said, like, I don't know where my head's at. So I'm trying to pick up the
Call
pieces
back.
from the last 3
Call
minutes
back.
here. Yeah. We're doing a real Family Guy thing. Our good boy Justin is getting married in less than 30 days. How many days is it? 27, 26?
24.
24 days.
24
Cool. 24 days. So we wanted to kind of give Justin some of our wisdom.
Right.
Some of the things that we have learned over our past years of marriage.
Yep.
And we want you, the loyal, faithful Weekday Army, to jump in on this as well.
Well, this all kind of started when.
Hold on. Let me finish the pitch, and then you can get to the thing. Just for those that are listening on just a podcast, Justin surreptitiously.
I knew that
pulled
wouldn't
his,
translate audio wise, but I still wanted to do it.
I know it would have been. It's great. You got my
still
laugh.
works.
Yeah, you
It
got my
still
laugh.
works.
Justin pulled his notebook up and he was writing in his notebook. No, we wanted to ask you, the Weekday Army, to give us some of your best marriage tips, real or fake, doesn't matter, because he's not going to know the difference until he gets about 5 years into this thing. So yeah, we want to know. But go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say this kind of all came about because everybody, you know, there's certain points in your life where
Everybody knows better than you.
yeah, people will come up and give you very unsolicited
What are those
advice.
times? Driving?
Sure, driving. Yeah, that might be one of them.
Having kids?
Having kids and getting married are like the 2 biggest ones. People find out you're getting married and they just start dumping on you.
Like, for
their
example.
junk.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's junk.
Yeah, it is
because
junk. Like what?
how many people do you actually want advice from?
2.
Very little.
Yeah, 2. My dad and maybe my grandfather.
Very, very few.
Um,
And the people who always give you unsolicited advice are people, that like should not be doing that.
Right. You don't want their marriage anyway. So, like, what are some of the things that you would tell our good boy Justin right now in this moment? Because we are going to title this segment Unsolicited Marriage Advice.
Yes. I think
From the Weekday.
subheadline.
By Michael Scott.
The boys are back in town. And they know best. Forever and for always, I do.
By Mike and Andy.
Okay, so here's my first one.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, make sure you write this down. Do your best in every way, whenever possible, on any day out of any year.
You turn into Michael Scott. Like sometimes when I start a sentence, I don't know where I'm going. So I just go.
Don't cheat on your wife.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
That makes sense.
Don't even
That
think
makes
about
sense.
cheating on your wife because that's bad, Justin. I appreciate that. Hey, here's one for you. Buy separate tubes of toothpaste. Just trust me. It's a small thing, but your life. I'm not kidding you.
I didn't see that coming.
I am not kidding you. Your life will be insanely happy if you each have your own tube of toothpaste.
Yeah.
Wait, so did you start with having the same?
Correct.
No. Oh, no.
I did. It was only for the first month. And then we quickly made that decision. Also here, and this is 1B of this.
Oh.
Figure out which side of the bed you like to sleep on and which side of the bed she likes to sleep on, and then go with the side that she likes to sleep on. And I've told this story, I think, to you guys before, but we went 2 years in our marriage with sleeping on the side of the bed that we don't like until we had a conversation one night, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then we switched sides of the bed,
That's
and
really
we've been...
And Andy still doesn't sleep.
Yeah, but I don't sleep more comfortably than I did before. What's your next piece of advice?
I think in general, preparing yourself to live with a woman is, for those that haven't done it, it's more shocking than I imagined it would be when it happened to me.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I think the whole bathroom situation is a fantastic thing to think about, because most women, their whole like routine. I'm rarely cleaner than my wife,
Except
except
oh my gosh,
in the bathroom.
Yes.
Everything they got going on is just it's a lot.
It's a landmine.
Yeah. And so I just, preparing yourself for the inevitability that you will feel very like it's two worlds clashing together. And no one told me, like, hey, when you move in, when you and your wife like actually live together, things get weird for that first couple months because you've never lived with your wife before.
There's a dance.
Yeah.
The bathroom dance.
Yeah.
Bathroom
Different.
Yeah,
There's a few bathroom dances.
I'm talking this is the bathroom tango.
Yeah. It's more of like
It's a two-step.
yeah.
So far, what I'm getting is two of the pieces of advice both have to do with the bathroom.
Well, here's the third piece of advice: make enough money to get 2 sinks. However you can.
Justin did. That was a big thing when we were looking for Justin's house.
We were looking for a house with 2 sinks as one of our.
And
Dude,
nice
that is clutch.
Yeah.
You have no idea how happy that decision is going to make you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can wash your face whenever you want, Justin. You can brush your teeth whenever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry
I can
about.
thank Mike. I can thank Mike for
welcome.
that.
Here, I'm going to give you another piece of advice. If you see socks or a towel on the floor, you can do one of two things. You can either ignore it or you can pick it up. But you cannot talk about it, okay? Just trust me.
This is too deep.
You cannot talk about it. Or, if you have dogs, like pick it up so the dogs don't eat it. But ignore it or pick it up. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, the people talk about the adage of like, don't go to bed angry kind of thing.
Yep.
It doesn't matter to my wife.
Okay.
So
That was really deep. That's deeper than the towel on the floor.
I am the one who likes to talk things out, and she does not. So figure out who likes to talk about things and who doesn't. And just because if you are the type of person who likes to talk things out, the other person might not actually like to talk. And so I get to like this really weird, like, well, she doesn't want to talk, or like, like why doesn't she interact with this conflict the same way I do?
Yeah.
And then I have to remember it's because she's a different person than me.
Right. And Jenna's the same way, where if there's something wrong, I want to talk about it right then, right there. I want to solve it. I want to put it to rest. I don't care about the going to bed angry thing. I don't. It could be at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm ready to.
It wrecks my day.
I'm ready to verbally process it in the moment.
And it wrecks my day.
Yeah.
Like it wrecks all of my meetings. It wrecks my conversations. It wrecks everything I do.
Yeah.
And Jenna, this is why women are superheroes. They can compartmentalize things in a way that allows them to just continue on throughout their day and then never touch it again. And then even then, when you try to bring it up later, it's like, I don't know that I'm ready to talk about that. What do you mean? I've been ready to talk about it since it happened.
Yeah.
So Justin, figure out how to compartmentalize or figure out how to live through conflict, because it will happen. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Just put conflict with 4 exclamation points. Yep, there you go.
I have one last one,
Okay.
and this is a legit one, Justin.
Were the others not legit?
No, they were mostly legit.
Well, they started out funny. This one isn't like. This one is more sincere than anything else. Figure
Close
out how Elena likes to be loved. Because a lot of the times we show love the way that we like to be loved. And it's not bad necessarily, but sometimes it's not the most effective. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does.
You stole mine, by the way, but that's
Oh,
fine.
sorry. I think it's partially where like the love languages come in,
That was
or
gonna be
Yeah.
my
and
love
it's
language.
it's kind of it's understanding that they're a different person than you are.
And so I'm going to tag onto that because this was mine
Yeah.
as well. Figure out how to speak your love language, and that sounds real cheesy and real stupid, but it's not stupid at all. Not only does it lead to a happier partner, but it also leads to like you feeling like you're actually growing a little bit when you can start to empathize. And like Jenna tells me I'm horrible at empathy, and she tells me all the like I'm not good at speaking her love language. I am good at I know what it is, but like there are a lot of times I just go like, I forgot.
Yeah.
Or like in the heat of the moment, it's like, well, I just did what I always do, and like that's not the right thing.
Yeah.
Train yourself to not do what you always do. You will be infinitely a better husband if you do that.
Ooh, also,
I feel like that's good.
it's not always advantageous to win.
In fact, most of the time. Well, don't get into this because I want to get into this with the messy
I was
people.
gonna say this is a nice lead into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I've had to learn very early on that a sorry is a much better word than I told you so.
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't know.
sense.
I don't know if Elaine is going to subscribe to Happy Wife, Happy Life. Jenna hates that. Jenna hates the idea of Happy Wife, Happy Life. But at the same
I was
time,
gonna
like
say, does she? The concept I understand, like
think-
an antiquated concept.
I
but
think what she hates is like she feels like I can be patronizing if I try to be like whatever you want, babe, whatever you want.
Sure.
And I understand that, and that's my own communication fault. But figure out if she likes Happy Wife, Happy Life, or if she wants to just punch you whenever something's wrong. Because if she wants to punch you, like
Yeah.
let her punch you.
I feel like if she wanted to punch me, I'd probably know that by now.
Dude, things change.
Oh no.
Yeah, things change. Kids change a lot of things.
they do.
Cool. We've taken double the normal time we take on the intro here. So let's just roll right into our topic. Let's skip the break thing. Can we do
Whoa!
Oh.
that? Is that okay? Are we allowed to do that?
What do
Are
I
we gonna-
do when I'm editing?
So the second segment of the day.
Great transition, guys.
Yeah. Might as well just taking a break at that point. I don't know. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, we're talking about messy people. All right.
Messy people.
Yeah. So this marriage topic actually came from us, obviously, when Mike was saying, like, hey, we want to give unsolicited marriage advice. But it's also part of something deeper that has been happening in our world, and that we as Christians or as people that are just trying to be actual good people, we need to get a handle on. And it's that idea of asking yourself, how do I handle a messy person? And we're not talking like messy people in the bathroom, like just leaving hair and makeup all over the place. But how do you deal with somebody that you don't agree with? How do you deal with that person online, especially online, that is posting inflammatory remarks or is, believing things that you don't believe and is like very, very over the top about them? How do you deal with that?
You immediately comment.
Yeah,
and
it's a clap back.
Yeah.
It's called a clap back.
Well, and you say that they just suck.
Ooh. All right, episode over. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that like their lives will be changed because of it.
Yeah, I've won many an argument that way.
I think that like the internet is the best way to
best
change
form.
people's minds.
Yeah, it's the best form for it.
Yeah, isn't that why it's so popular?
There's a theme that's been recurring over the last probably 5 episodes of the Weekday, and it is social media is a real bad thing at
and
times.
like when you were asking me yesterday or 2 days ago, it's like the only thing I really want to talk about is how terrible social media is.
Yeah. and you're not wrong.
I know, but we just can't hammer
it's
that.
a great power
Yeah.
comes great responsibility situation.
Yeah.
But we want to have a conversation today, and we want you to join in the conversation of kind of giving practical tips on how to handle messy people, because we can easily do the whole Jesus said love your neighbor and love your enemy, turn the other cheek. Jesus said give him your cloak. Jesus said walk the extra mile. Like, we can all do that thing and then cloak it in biblical stuff and then leave feeling fulfilled. But if you were with us on our last episode where I was talking about brain chemistry and actual learning and actual human development inside of the church, learning is actually the last part of things that happens.
Yeah.
There needs to be a practical emotional response that happens. There needs to be action steps that happen first,
Right.
before you actually learn, which is kind of backwards to what we think. And so we want to train ourselves to act appropriately and to respond appropriately. So I saw you pulled something up on your phone,
Yeah.
but Mike and Justin, let's open this floor up. Like, how do you respond? What are some practical tips that we would give our audience responding to messy people?
Well, I think that we are living in a day and age, a time where because not just the political discourse, but discourse in general seems to be not just on the extremes and polarized, but we have lost the art of understanding from a Christian perspective, especially, that the Holy Spirit moves, that Jesus redeems, and that lives can actually be changed. And so I think that in some ways, if you were to ask other people and ask Christians especially if they believe that, would say, obviously, yes. The problem is that you cannot bludgeon someone into changing. You cannot bludgeon the people that you are called to love. You can't hate people into change.
You said that yesterday. I thought that was brilliant.
You can't hate people into the coming kingdom. And I think that we lose sight of that so easily and have for thousands of years. And I want to read this quote. This is from Russell Moore, who's actually a Southern Baptist.
He's the quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Nope.
Danger Russ.
Yeah, that's a different Russell. That's Russell Jr. or Russell.
Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson Jr. the third.
Right.
So Russell Moore, who stepped down from actually being the president of the Southern Baptist Convention because he was like, "This is messed up.
Yep.
I can't do this right now."
Yep.
Like this.
It's a cool story.
Yeah. And so basically he just says, we now see young evangelicals walking away from evangelicalism, not because they do not believe what the church teaches, but because they believe the church itself does not believe what the church teaches.
Oof.
And
Preach.
so, like that echoes of what Gandhi said, that famous quote from Gandhi, like
Jesus, but I don't like your Christians
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. I don't like his followers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so much truth about that. And, I think that, we're on the heels of the Roe v. Wade decision, that getting overturned. A couple other like super hot topics in especially our political discourse that, I think people run so quickly to the extremes because it's easy for them to do that. and then you fortify. It's a lot of what we talked about last time, but you fortify your position, and then you are just lobbing arrows back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to live in a world that approaches people, especially messy people, with grace. You have to go to the middle to meet them, and that's a lonely place to be, and you have to meet them where they're at, and no one. I feel like if you do that, you become a pariah because you're doing the opposite of what 50% of the people want you to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. 50%, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You brought up Andy Stanley yesterday can you take us down that train of thought as well?
Yeah, Andy Stanley, he came out with his book, Not In It to Win It, which is really, really great. And honestly, like I love Andy Stanley, and I always have. I love North Point Church and what they do, their mission, their model. The fact that it feels like they truly, for the past 25, 30 years almost, have reformed themselves to be able to reach the people of their community.
And not just once, they've done it 3 or 4 times.
I mean, and it just feels like constantly they are doing things that as somebody who's involved in full-time vocational ministry was like, oh, you can do that? And it's like, yeah, you can do that. It just seems like they're constantly pushing the boundaries of what ministry can look like within almost like a mega church context. And I think it's so cool and so fascinating. And Andy Stanley is, I think, it's like a really great thinker, obviously a very good communicator. But anyways, he wrote this book that talks about how it feels like we in the church are doing things to be able to win arguments, to win people to the faith, as opposed to just like answering the question, what does love require of me?
Yeah.
And I know I've talked a little bit about that before, but then his newest sermon series is kind of about how the way that we react to certain situations, the way we react to conversations, the way that we react to the Supreme Court decisions, the way that we react to things in the political sphere, how we react to that says more about us and who we are than who we say we are. And he goes on to talk a lot about, these things from the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus talks about. If you look at it if someone asks you to go a mile, go the extra mile. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, you turn your left. If you look at these if-then statements, it's a masterclass in how we react to things that are something that most people would say are offenses to us, or just to humans in general, especially back in their context. That the extra mile thing was what the Roman soldiers would basically, because they occupied Israel, they would just, and they needed something.
And they could conscript you for a mile.
Yeah, exactly. It was legal for them to be like, I need your help now. Stop whatever you're doing, and you have to come help me. Otherwise, I'll kill you. But they could only do it for a mile or whatever, 1,000 paces or something. But he's teaching people how to react in a way that is like the craziest underreaction. It's like because of how you react, it makes people stop in their tracks and be like, what are you doing? That is not the way that people are supposed. If I ask you to, if I make you stop what you are doing, stop everything that you are doing, and I intrude upon your life, and not only do you agree willingly, you decide to do even more for me. What are you doing? And so I think that for us to actually, deal with people, messy people, which we all are, to actually show God's grace to people, it takes a lot of mindfulness and a lot less talking.
Justin, when we were talking about this yesterday, you brought up an interesting point as well. Would you like to go through how you respond to messy people?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like especially on social media, what I see a lot is when people are disagreeing on topics. A lot of times it seems like people like to assume that if this person disagrees with me, they hate me because of my beliefs, which I don't think is the case a lot of times. Not only that, but like, if somebody like disagrees with me, I feel like is important to like understand why they disagree, because I feel like a lot of people actually do have similar ideas in their mind for what they want in the end.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of people, I mean, we all have different opinions on how to get there. And that's where the disagreement is. But if we can remember that, I feel like for the most part, a lot of people really do have the same end goal in mind. That can be really helpful. But I see that especially a lot in the church, where I see people who are outside of the church. A lot of times they might disagree with, like the views of like, Christians or something like that. And they automatically assume they don't agree with me. So they hate me.
Right.
Which really isn't the case a lot of time. I mean, there's always like, fringe whatever, but
Fringe whatever.
however you can say it.
Well,
but
My favorite political party.
yeah. There's always
I'm voting
fringe whatever.
Yeah. Sister.
But I really don't, I mean, at least around here, I know that's not the case.
Right.
I know that like the people that I surround myself with, and I know a lot of people that we surround ourselves with, we know that that's not the case, where we can have differing opinions from other people and still love them, respect them, and also just like want to find out more maybe about why they believe that way, while still being able to, disagree and just not hating that person. So
Again, well said. There's an interesting thing that happens when you do respond to when you respond like Jesus said to respond. And so again, I'm gonna go back to the practical tips here. One of the things that you need to do was kind of exactly what you were talking about at the end of our marriage segment, our marriage counseling segment, was learn to say I'm sorry, because and mean it, and learn to actually be sorrowful for the way that you are portraying Jesus. That is a tough thing to say I'm sorry, explain yourself, or to seek to understand, to ask questions, to talk, not to get your point across, but to talk to understand a little bit, is essentially saying I'm sorry.
Right.
And learn to do that, because that is, you would be shocked at how many arguments and things would go away immediately.
Yeah.
You're never, especially in social media, you're not going to be convinced about anything.
Sure.
I'm not going to be convinced about anything, but I would love to know a little bit more about why you feel the way you feel.
Sure.
That is, not only is that healthy for the relationship that you may or may not have, but it's healthy for you as a person.
Right.
It's healthy for you as a sheep in wolf's clothing in reverse instead of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Right. Jesus tells us also that we need to be as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. Mm-hmm. Well, the serpent is cunning, and I mean, he basically brought the downfall of all civilization because of his cunning and because of his wisdom. But the dove does not cry. It's very gentle. It's, all these other things. And so how do you be gentle? Well, you seek to understand, and you then take that wisdom and use it to minister to that person. I think that is a very like pie in the sky sort of thing, because that means you need to get over yourself. Right. And getting over yourself is the toughest part.
Well, I think as far as practicality goes, so much of our conversations with each other, even with ourselves, have nothing to do with the things that we're actually talking about. I mean, the amount...
Well, the way one issue turns into a bigger issue.
Yeah.
And most of them are, let's put it on the table. Most of it is a political thing, a political divide.
Well, and it's everything that someone says feels like an attack on who you are as a person.
Your sexuality, your political beliefs, or your religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And those are the three things that they always tell you in, like, when you're bartending. When I was waiting tables and bartending, and I was bartending for a long time. You don't talk about religion. You don't talk about politics.
Right.
You talk about anything else.
Right.
Now, and you can now throw sexuality in there as well.
Right.
But everything now is coming down to those three topics.
Well, and like it's fascinating how it's, if someone says one thing and it sort of like triggers you and you end up getting upset, like maybe just stopping a second and saying like, why am I upset? And it's like this weird, you can go down this weird path. It's like, oh my gosh, I am upset because I feel like they said no, not to the thing that like I want to do or something. I don't know.
But to me.
Yeah, but to me
as a
and
person.
that means my past or whatever happened, like you had some weird thing in your past that happened, like then that validates that weird thing that happened in your past, and it in turn like lowers your identity, who you are as a human, even though all you asked was like, do you want to go play soccer with me?
Well,
or something.
Go to the brain chemistry thing, though. I've been filtering everything through this brain chemistry thing. So if you're filtering everything through the immediate emotional response and there is no joy in your life,
right.
The learned behavior for a human is the trapped, caged animal response.
Yeah.
That is a learned behavior.
Right.
I mean, it's natural, but it's learned over over days and weeks and months of not having good emotional responses to things.
Right.
But the second that you can fix that joy portion of your life and understand that this life is not about you, your beliefs are not about you,
Right.
you're this, that, or the other, that is not who you are,
Yeah.
your identity. The second you can fix that right brain portion of who you are,
Yeah.
the left brain stops responding with immediate fight.
Yeah.
Instead
Fight or
of
flight,
fight or
yeah.
flight, or not even flight
Yeah.
usually, it's usually fight.
Just fight.
Because the autonomic response
Yeah.
that we have learned
Oh, yeah,
is
it's like
immediately I'm going to punch back.
It's the lizard brain thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that's the caged rat mentality.
Well, and it is funny. Like I think, Justin, back to like unsolicited marriage advice. Like everybody should get in counseling. You should go to counseling. That's just
everybody should.
yeah. But when I was doing that, the counselor guy, or my counselor, he just said, anger is one of, especially for men, anger is one of the, like, pretty much the only accepted emotions that men can have.
Yeah.
And just societally, culturally, whatever, for whatever reason, that's the emotional response a lot of the times we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, go through Twitter, go through Facebook. Like, you will see that is generally the only emotion exhibited that people have is anger. Like, I'm going to post this.
Sarcasm is a form of anger. Irony is a form of anger.
Yeah.
Joking is a form of anger.
Gaslighting
is
you
a
know,
form of
it's,
anger.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is this weird, like, lashing out, this animalistic behavior. And anger is not bad, you know, but I do think it's funny, you know, a lot of people in especially Christian circles, you know, use like the picture of Jesus overturning tables in you know, in the temple or whatever. Did you know he was literally arrested like the next day?
Yeah.
You know, like in the timeline of how everything worked out in the temple, like that was one of, if not the, like, last straw for the temple Pharisees and all that kind of stuff, the temple officials, to like, we have to arrest this guy. You know, like anger, that's one of the only times we see Jesus like really, really angry. So, but people use it as like justification.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, like they killed Jesus partially because of that. Like, we can't use it as like a justification in the church for anger,
Right.
you know?
Right.
If that makes any sense. So kind of, I see people use that as like, well, you know, sometimes it's okay to be angry.
It
Like,
does.
I just don't know if that's like the right thing to say.
I mean, it's okay
here.
to be crucified too. So there you go. Another practical way that we can respond to messy people is, so we talked about saying I'm sorry. With that, I would also put forgiveness in there. You have to learn how to forgive, and you need to pray for that, and you need to have that quotient in your life be able to fill up. Be curious. And we kind of touched on that a little bit with asking questions, but you need to learn to be curious. Mm-hmm. You need to learn how to have enough energy to actually listen.
Right.
To actually, because it does take energy. In fact, I think, at least for me, it takes more energy for me to listen than it does for me to process verbally.
Sure.
But I strive to be a good listener. And
What?
Excuse me? Come again? I strive to be an active participant in listening, and always have in my pastoral career. In fact, I was counseling somebody this morning, not counseling, I had a pastoral meeting with somebody out in the lobby today, and this person was recounting all of these things, and my watch was dinging. My watch dinged probably six. It always seems to ding like right when I'm in the middle of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so my watch dinged like 6 or 7 times, and I'm like struggling and like, no, I'm going to listen to her, and I'm going to listen to. And so I listened to her, and I got through the thing, and picked up my phone. None of that stuff mattered. Yeah. But the second I would have picked up my phone or turned my watch, I would have not been listening to her and not been actively being able to pray for her in that time. And I don't have any differences with her. But when I'm engaging with somebody online, I'm seeking to actively listen to what that person is saying to me, even if it's just something about abortion or something about taxes or something about electric cars or something about why the Lightning are a terrible hockey team or anything like that. Like, I'm seeking to understand what that motive is. Yeah. Am I successful in that? 99% of the time, no, because I get angry. But maybe 1% of the time, the expansion of my mind happens, and I go, oh, I'm a little bit wiser today.
Yeah. I think the rush of dopamine we get from so many different things in this life is like completely antithetical to that idea.
Slowing down and listening, 100%.
And I think that, we're addicted to quick emotional responses, quick shots here and there of different things that I think now more than ever, it might be harder to do that.
Oh yeah. It's a skill. Listening is a skill.
Well, and I think that the more you do it, the easier it becomes, just like with anything. But yeah, and I think it's wise to, again, understand that one of the reasons you do that is if you can ask clarifying questions over something and you have the time to do that, you will begin to understand that so much of whatever this person is talking about is not about you, and it's not really even about them. They're filtering this through some other life experience or something. Especially if someone is like angry or has a disagreement or something.
What do you say to the person that just lights you up about X abortion issue because they posted something and you decided that you wanted to wade into those deep waters, and then they start punching back? Is that about you? Is that about them? What is that about?
I don't know. That's a very circumstantial situation.
Sure, but to figure that out, you'd have to listen to them a little bit.
You would ask clarifying questions,
and then a public forum like Facebook or Instagram is a terrible place for that.
Oh my gosh!
Take it to the DMs. Take it to a voice call.
Not even that. Yeah, I would. I would not get into this. Honestly, it's been very few times, very far and in between or whatever, few and far in between where I've ever engaged in those actual conversations. And if I do, I try to extra clarify, I'm just asking questions here. Like, this is me trying to understand your point of view better. Why do you think this is the best way to go about things? Who is this going to hurt? Why do you feel so strongly about this? I think that having to go above and beyond and be very, very clear is what this day and age demands, and yet nobody's doing that. That's not true. It feels like it's harder to do for some reason.
Well, I do feel like, because like on social media in particular, like I don't do that. I mean, I hardly ever even post anything on social media, let alone like get in like fights in the comments. But
I would love to see you in a comment fight, flame battle.
But well, it is like, I mean, it can be kind of fun reading those sometimes. And more often than not, when I do read those, if I do see somebody who is doing exactly what you're saying and asking those clarifying questions, I feel like the thing is, like, if two people are talking in person, it's a lot easier if one of them's calm for that to transfer over to the other person, where in social media, I don't see that happening near as much.
Right.
If there's one person out of the two people that are talking that are angry, it's just not gonna, like, nobody's gonna pay attention to what's being said.
Yep.
Agreed. I had a thought. I'm as I'm texting my wife right now. I had a thought, and we may have to do an entire episode about this, but there's been a larger segment of people than I remember calling for all of us to just delete social media and to get off of social media. I was listening to a very well-known podcast this morning while I was making coffee.
What's the podcast?
The Dan Le Batard Show.
Oh.
But one of the hosts was saying, he was recounting all the statistics, like, you know, all of the things that happen when we engage in social media and stuff. But he said, like, we weren't meant to know that somebody in Australia hates our guts.
Right.
We weren't meant to know those things.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to, like, be able to filter that stuff.
Well, and if you believe in like evolution on any sort of level, even like a micro level, which is, you know, relatively true.
Proven, yeah.
Yeah, like our brains can't handle that.
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
I think we might need to do an entire episode about that. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you can't disassociate with it, because social media has also, like with my kids, social media is their social media persona is their real life.
Right.
So gone is the notion that, like,
You can have separate.
you can have separate lives. Like, no,
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Everybody's a brand.
Right. Well, yes, everybody is that brand that they are putting forth, and you are whatever logo you're putting on for your avatar. But to back that up, like, okay, so I think it's even more important to develop skills for conversation in those platforms.
Yeah.
And to do it in a healthy way, I just don't think that there is an asynchronous way to do it.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Asynchronous meaning like comment.
Right.
No, you need to get with somebody either face to face or even just on a phone call. Discord does it. Facebook Messenger does it. Slack does it. I mean, there's a billion different ways to talk to people for free across the world.
Yeah.
That's the only way to take care of all of this stuff. That's my last tip. Do you have any more?
I think when the Bible says listen
Thou shalt
first,
not murder.
Well, I think listen first, speak slowly.
Yeah.
I think they mean it.
You
So-
know, Teddy Roosevelt said, "Walk softly and carry a big stick."
We've talked about this before. Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah.
hilarious to me.
Yeah. I don't think that's right.
Hey, that dude rode a horse
Sure.
without a shirt on. So
That's yeah.
him and
Like Putin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
him and Putin. He was Putin before Putin, some would
Putin.
say. Wow, we just went 42 minutes there. Sorry about that, gang.
Don't apologize. That's
I retract. I retract my statement from earlier where I
Unbelievable.
said I'm sorry.
unbelievable.
Why would you want to do this right at the end of this podcast? We've gone so well together. You see this? See the escalation?
you're gonna
Take it to
outrage
Facebook.
machine. This is how we get clicks.
Oh my gosh.
If we get outraged about something,
LeBron James, the best player ever.
yay or nay? Top five NBA players right now.
Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. Your turn.
Chris Mullen,
Ooh, John Stockton.
Tim Hardaway,
Ooh, John Paxson.
yeah, Gary Payton.
Horace Grant. Do you know any of these guys?
No, he doesn't.
Like
You know Michael Jordan
Michael
and LeBron.
Jordan.
No, you didn't know any of the people that I just said.
They were all
Are
from
they
NBA
people?
Jam. They were all from NBA Jam tournament edition.
Did you
circa
make them up?
1994. Did you know they remade NBA Jam?
No.
It was bad.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Hey, we're going to end the episode now that we've gone an extra 2 minutes. Thanks for joining us. We would love to hear how you're responding to the trolls on your social media platforms as well.
Love them.
Yeah.
Everybody love everybody.
ELE, everybody love everybody. And as you take this love forth, make sure to post this on your social media accounts, this episode, and then delete your accounts.
Right.
Just get us that engagement, baby.
Well, you know what you should do is when you get into an argument with somebody,
just post this link.
and then you just to like end the argument at some really weird time.
Post it
It's like
there.
it's like post reply weekday.
Here,
and then you're like,
here's,
whoa.
here's the thumbnail.
Yeah.
But
that's
then
all
people
it
are
is.
the people that click it are just gonna see the first like minute and just see like marriage advice, and then that's it.
Well, you can post it. You can post it starting at a certain point.
Starting at 000.
Right there.
Hey.
Okay, thanks for joining us, everybody, on this episode of The Weekday. We love you. We'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Bay Hope TV. Be sure to like and share these videos with your friends, as it really does help this channel out. And be sure to subscribe for more Bay Hope TV content. As always, thanks for watching.